In the spirit of COVID mercifully canceling Thanksgiving this year, so I don't have to listen to my drunken aunt go on in a boring lecture about how shocked she was about her 23andMe results, we're going to talk about making your chords less boring too, all right? It all comes down to just some cool spicy things that you can do. You could make anything. It's like adding sweet potato to any dish at Thanksgiving. It just makes it that much better. And we're going to focus on the chords of C major, the major chords, right? This is going to be joyful, happy, because we're thankful for not having to sit through and listen to that anymore, right? So we've got C major, F major, G major. I'm already so bored thinking of these dumb triads. We're going to turn that into some spicy cranberry sauce. So this is stuff you can do over every major chord. I think it works really great on an electric guitar, rocking the Fender Ultra Strat out today, but you can do the same thing on acoustic guitar. The thing that I always feared when I first started playing was the A string-rooted bar chord, right? So if we wanted to play a C major chord, just a C, an E, and a G, in bar chord form on the A string, you'd have to get the 3rd fret of the A string, 5, 5, 5 on D, G, and B, and then somehow bust your ring finger up to try to get that high E string to sound out too. It seemed kind of impossible, like getting through a Thanksgiving without some kind of racist comment from my uncle, right? But there's a much easier way to do this. Once I quit ever using this bar chord and just started using this, everything became so much easier. So, again, we're just leaving the root out, and we're going to play a C major like this. Kind of like how you'd play an open A major chord. But again, I'm still visualizing the root of the chord as being the 3rd fret on the A string just because I'm so familiar with those shapes. But I'm putting my shape right here. And when you lead with your pointer finger like this, what it allows you to do is you can play all these notes right below it that you can add to the chord and really just spice it up, right? So again, I've got the 5th fret on the D, G, and B strings. So like I said, it's an inversion. All that means is the bass note or the root note of the chord isn't the bass note or the lowest note, right? So again, the 5th fret on the D string, this is technically a G. The 5th fret on the G string is a C. There's our root note. And then we have an E right here, okay? So if you know the notes of the major scale, which is super important and something I talk about all the time, and if you're interested in learning more of that, check out a course I made in just understanding the fretboard. I'll make it half off for the next 5 days, right? You know that there's no sharps or flats in the key of C, right? So all this is going to be in the key of C. So we have a G, a C, and an E, right? So the next note after G is just a step up because there is a G sharp. So we're going to skip that. We're going to go from its next note, G to A, C to D, 5, 7, 5, 7. And then the B string has an E. Now there's no E sharp, so it goes right to F. And that's how I'm kind of thinking of that kind of thing right there, right? So this is something that we can do all over different chords too. Any major chord, really, we're going to talk about one exception. But if we do this on a G major chord where we slide all the way to here, the 12th fret, we do the same thing. So instead of playing C to G to C to G, we go C. So again, this is going back between a C and a G chord. We do the same thing with an F, right? Again, by the way, so a G chord, the 5 chord would just be to bar the 12th fret, and then the F chord is just the 10th fret, right? So C, F, G is just this new way of playing C, F, G. You can hear they're the same chords, just different voicings, and that's why they might come in more handy. Now, aside from just this key, you'll notice I want to go from the C to the F. I'm going from the 5th fret all the way to the 10th fret. 5 frets, 5 to 10. The distance between the root chord in a key and the next major chord is always going to be that same thing. So let's say we're playing in the key of D, right? The key of 2020. There's your D major chord. It's like, all right, well, what's the next major chord in this key? Right now I'm on the 7th fret. 7 plus 5, 12. Right there. And then you can move 2 frets higher to get to the next major chord. So C, F, G. Okay? One thing that I want to add from a lesson I did last week or a couple weeks ago, where we were talking about inverted sixths or whatever, that kind of move right there, is you can really combine this with going from one chord to the next chord to the next chord, which right there is, I'll show you what I did. So I have a C major chord right here, right? Now another E string rooted bar chord of C major looks like this. You may have tried this before, right? In that lesson that I'll link below, we talked about getting to a C major like this, where there's the C, and this is also like another piece of a C major chord. We can combine this with this, and that lines your ring finger up with the F chord, right? So one chord, another one chord, and then the 4 chord to the 5 chord. So these are just different ways to jump around. Again, this and this are the same chord, and then this lines up with 10 to 12. So C to C to F to G. Okay? And then now you can inflect those. C to G. Again, a lot of different things you can do just by jumping around there, all right? Now, the last thing I want to talk about is, remember how we did this 5 to 7, 5, 7, 5, 6. Very pentatonic sounding, right? Do the same thing on the G. If we talk about the notes here, this is a D to an E, a G to an A, a B to a C. Remember, B doesn't have a sharp either. That's why that works in the same thing. What if we do it on the F? What is this? That's actually an A sharp, right? Well, that's not in the key, you say. Now, if you do it just kind of in context with everything else, it doesn't sound bad, even though that note isn't in the key, right? If we're just like C. Doesn't sound bad, but technically, this note should be a B. And that kind of something special about that 4 chord, the chord of F major in the key of C, which I think is something that I like to utilize a lot. Even though that it kind of has a little bit of almost like a dissonant sound, even in the context of a key. That is technically the note if you were to stay diatonically inside of one key. So that's just one thing to think about, right? But other than that, I think this is like a really great way that you can take super boring, simple chords and just turn them into just total fun double stop things. And again, a double stop is when I'm just playing 2 strings at the same time, right? Like for this one, I'm not just hammering on the 5 to the 7. I'm actually striking the D string and the G string and then getting the hammer on. Right? Like that. Same thing with the G and B. So, a lot of things you can do, but again, once you start thinking about any of those A string rooted chords just being that one shape, I think your playing is going to get a lot spicier and a lot more fun. So if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.